so sorry for that. So moving forward, we will as we have discussed about the access, how we access the data present in dictionary, right? And similar to the list and tuples, there are certain methods that are present here, which we have to work around with while we are working with dictionary. However, as I have told you, we will be discussing all those methods later. Okay, so moving forward to the next topic, right, which is the if else statement, right, or if else code block. So when we are talking about if else, what basically this if else is, right? So as we have discussed earlier, Python supports the usual logical conditions for arithmetic operators or arithmetic problems, right? So these conditions can be used in several ways, and most commonly in if statements and loops. So when we talk about the logical conditions and also the comparisons that we need, right? So we basically we do use if else code block. So when we talk about if else code block, let's check what is the syntax here. So if being the keyword, after that there will be condition, colon is very important. After that there will be the code block, then it will be else and code block. So this is the basic syntax of else if else that we come across with, right? So for understanding this more in depth, let's take an example. Correct? So we will take two variables, let's say a equals to 200, b equals to 500. Then if a is less than b, what we will do is we will print a. And in else block, what we will do is we will print b. So what exactly is happening here, right? So we have two variables and value has been assigned to it. Next we are comparing both the values. If the first condition is true, then only the code block of if code block will run. In this example, the code block is just a print statement which is printing out or giving out the value or displaying the value of variable a. If the first condition is false, then the else code block will run. So when we run this, it is printing out a, right? So if we go ahead and make the changes here and we'll print, we'll get the value of b. So the if else code block is actually dependent on the condition or the comparison that we are providing in the if code block, right? So there are some more things that you have to keep in mind while working around here. So if you will go ahead and see the if block, there is a specific indentation which is very important. If there is no indentation, we will get an error. Why? Because as per the syntax rule of Python, indentation for every code block is necessary. Secondly, the next thing that we have here is something known as LF, which is written as, if you have worked around with the other languages like C++, Java, there is something we know as else if, right? LF in Python works same as the else if statement in the other languages, right? So if we have multiple conditions that we have to check, then we use elif. I'm so sorry. So just let's take an example. We have two variables here, right? So if b is less than a, then print b. elif. Now with elif statement we have to provide a condition. Let's say we are comparing both the variables. So if this particular thing is true, then it will print both are equal. Let's check this. So when we run, first initially we will get 500. Why? Because the if statement is true, right? If we will make it 500, right, and move forward, the elif condition is true and it is processing the elif code block. So this is the basic understanding of if else and elif in Python. There is one more thing that we come across with. It is the shorthand for if else, right? So let's check the shorthand or the syntax for the shorthand, right, which is so when we run this, we will get, if you see the second output, it is providing the output for else block. So this is the shorthand syntax for if else. The next thing in if else is the nested if, or also known as if else ladder. Right, so to discuss this, what we can do here is, if a is greater than say 400, then if a is less than 700, it will print a, else it will print smaller than 700. So if we'll run this, we will see that first the if condition is been tested, if it's true or not. If it is true, then the second condition is tested, if it is true, right? As the second condition is true, it is running the if code block here, right? So here what we are doing is we are actually creating a if else block inside an if else block to actually go with multiple conditional or logical statements. So this is the basic of if else block that we come across in Python. If you have any questions, please make sure that you put it into the chat, right, so that we can answer you then and there. So moving forward, the next topic is very important and interesting, which is loops. So if we talk about loops, we have two loops, right? First one is for, and the second one is while. So let's discuss about the for loop. What exactly for loop is, and what is the syntax for loop has in Python. So a for loop is actually used for iterating over a sequence. So basically what we will do is we will use for loop while we are working around with sequence or sequential data, correct? So to understand for loop, let's create a list. So we got a list. Now what we have to do is let's say we have to print the value of this particular list one by one or single item at a time. So what we will do, so for we will take a variable, right? It can also be known as counter, and so here what exactly we are doing, so we are checking if this particular X is present in the list, right? And after that we will print, the variable. So now what the concept here is that what we are doing is we will be going to read a single item that is present in our list one at a time. So when we run this particular code, we will get all the all the values or items that are present in our list one by one. So in other words, what we can say is with the for loop we can execute a set of statements once for each item in a list, tuple or sets, etc. So we can use this particular concept in every sequential data type, right? However, the for loop does not require an indexing variable to set, right? Here if we'll see, X is not being set before it has been used in for loop, right? So while working around with for loop, it's very easy because we don't need to actually focus on the counter or indexing variable, right? So let's say with the for loop there are n number of variables, right? And we have to stop the for loop, we have to stop the working of for loop after a specific code or specific value that we gain. So for that what we do is we use break statements. So with the break statement we can stop the loop before it has looped through all the items. So for that, here what we are doing is we are actually iterating all the three values, but if let's say we just need the for loop to stop once we reach the value 2 or the second item. So here what we will do is we will go come up with an if statement, right? And in condition what we will do is we will take the variable and we'll go with 2. So when we run this particular thing, what will happen? The flow of the loop will be stopped once we reach the item which is value 2, right? So if we go ahead and run it, we will get only two variables. The third variable won't be read. Why? Because here we are breaking the flow of the loop, correct? So moving forward, these are the some basic things that we should understand. There is one more important thing when we are talking about for loop, that is the range function. So we can say that to loop through a set of code a specific number of times, we can use this range function. So the range function basically returns a sequence of number which is starting from 0 by default until unless we have specified any number to start with, right? So for the syntax of range function, it is absolutely similar as any other function, which is range and two brackets, right? However, when we are talking about range, there is something known, something that we should know, which is start, stop and step. Basically these three items or these three entities are the arguments that we can pass in range, right? So when we use range, say for an example, if we have to print a sequence from 0 to say 10, right? So what we'll do is, for so here the 10 is actually providing us the information that till when, sorry, the 11 till when this particular for loop will run, or this particular range function will provide us the numbers or the sequence, right? So here there is one more interesting thing, that the number or the end stage of the range function is never read. So what I am trying to say is, if I print the value of I, right, so we will get a range from 0 to 10. That means the number 11 is never attained or never read by the range function. So here you can see that the starting point of range is 0 and the ending is 10. However, we have provided the number or argument as 11, right? So this is the basics of range functions that we have to understand, right? So moving forward, we will check for the while loop. What exactly while loop is in Python and how do we use it? So when we are talking about while loop, so we can execute a set of statements as long as the condition is true. So when we are saying condition, let's see the syntax for while loop. So for while loop, we use a keyword which is while, right? Then here is the condition, then here is the code block. So here, until and unless the condition is true, the while loop will run. As soon as the condition becomes false, the while loop will stop working. So here, to work around with while loop, we do need one more thing, which is counter variable, right? And the counter variable, while we are working with while loop, the counter variable can be incremented and decremented as per our need. counter variable can be incremented or it can be decremented as per our need, as I have already told you. So to understand the working of while, let's take an example, right? So here what we will do is we will take a counter which is I. Let's start with 0, right? And then while is less than, let's say, 10. So here what I'm doing is we will be printing a list of number or sequence of number which will start from 0 and it will end on 9, right? To make it work, what we have to do is we have to go ahead and make an increment in our counter. So it will be I. So when we go ahead and run this, we will get a list from 0 to 9. So this is how the while loop works around here, right? As we have understood the break statement with for loop, that is the same, that is how the break statement will work with while as well, right? If we come across with a specific value or we have come across with specific condition and we provide a break over there, the while loop will break its flow, right, and provide us with an output. So these are the basics of for loop and while loop that we should understand in Python. So moving forward, the next thing or the next important topic that we should understand is functions, right? So what exactly function is, right? So we can say that function is a code block, right, which only runs when it is called. So this is a code block which is there in our program, but it will only run when we call that code block, right? So you in function you can pass data, and those particular data which we pass in function is also known as parameters or arguments, right? A function can return the data as a result. So in function we can return a data. Also what we can do is we can directly print the data to our screen. So let's see the syntax. So to create a function we use a keyword which is def, right? Then there will be a function name and there will be a parenthesis, and after that there will be a colon, which is very important, and after that we start with our code block. Let's say we are printing here hello, that's it. But if we go ahead and run this, we won't get any answer, right? Why? Because as we have discussed, this is a code block, but it won't work until we call. So when we say call, what we are exactly doing is we are just making sure that there is a function call. For that, what we have to do is we just have to write the function name with the specific argument. So right now if we are looking at our example, there is no argument, so that is why in our function call, this is the function call that we are making, right? And when we run this, we will get hello. Why? Because we make the function call in our program. So moving forward, when we say argument, so those arguments are the specific information that we are passing into our function, right? So to pass an argument, what we have to do is in calling, right, we have to give a argument. So here it can be a string, a variable, it can be anything, it can be a different altogether a file as well that we can pass through here, right? However, this particular function call will be correct if while defining a function we are providing argument here as well. So moving on to the parameter and function, the term parameter and argument can be used for the same thing, information that are passed to a function, right? So when we talk about argument, by default a function must be called with the correct number of argument, as I have already shown you that if we are calling the function with an argument, the same number of arguments should be present here in the definition of the function, right? Meaning that if your function expects 2 arguments, you have to call a function with 2 arguments and not more, and not less. So this is the basic of function that we have to understand when we are working around with function in Python. So I do understand that I do assume actually that you understood how we make a function and how we use the function, right, in Python. So moving forward, the next thing that we come across with here in Python is the classes and object, right? So when we talk about classes, actually it is the part of the object oriented programming, right? So we do know that Python is an object oriented programming language, right? So almost everything in Python is an object, and a class is like an object constructor and a blueprint for creating an object. So here when we talk about the classes and objects, right, what we can say is we create a class, right, then we create an object, and after that we use that particular object to access all the variables or functions or any particular logics that we have assigned to that particular class, right? So when we are creating a class, we use a keyword which is class, right? Then we provide the class name, let's say, right? Then we provide a colon, and here let's say we are just assigning a variable. Now if we have to use or access this variable here in our program, we cannot directly go ahead and use it. How? I'll show you the error as well. If we'll go ahead and print it directly, we will get an error, right, which will say x is not defined. So to access x, what we have to do is we have to come up with an object. So to create an object, we need a variable, then we have to assign the class to it. So here the class name that I have is first, right? And to access the variable, what I have to do is I just have to first call the object and then the variable, and when I run, I'll get the answer. So this is the basics of classes and objects in Python. So when we talk about the basic, this is the basics of this, but this particular topic is very vast, and certainly we are going to discuss it after, like in a later part or later webinars, or maybe we will come up with different videos for you guys to understand all these logics, right? So moving forward, the next thing that we will talk or discuss about is modules. What exactly modules are? So basically modules are the code libraries that Python provides us, right? So when we say code library, so it is a file containing a set of functions that we want to use in our application, right? So when we say about a file, we have to make sure that those particular files are first imported to our program. So first thing, let's see how we can create our custom modules, right? So we don't need to actually do anything special for it. What we have to do is we just have to come up with a file with an extension of py. If you'll go ahead and see here, our file that we are working on is with an extension of py. So if I want to use this particular file as a module for the next app that I'm making, I can use it, right? So second thing, when we are talking about use of module, how do we use it, right? To use a module, first we have to actually call that module or call that particular file in our application. To use that, to do that, to actually call that external module or file in our application, what we do is we use a statement which is import, right? And after import, we write the module name. And after that, we can use all the functions, variables and different logics that are present in that particular module. So this is the basic working of our module, right? Once we will advance in these particular topics, we will certainly use all these particular logics and concepts in our projects when we are making them. We will be looking at looking all these particular concepts in our later webinar or videos that we are going to make, right? So if you have any issues related to it, please feel free to contact us. We will be very much happy to help you out in these particular doubts and queries. So moving forward, the next thing that I would like to discuss, and this will be our last pointer that we are going to discuss, is an user input. Like, how are we going to ask our user to provide us an input? So for that, we have a specific function that we use, which is input, right? And how do we use this particular function, right? So for that, what we do is we assign a variable, right? Then we call the input function, and inside the input function we will ask for the user input. Say for an example, enter your name, right? So when we run this, we will get a question or the statement asking us to provide an input, and let's say I am providing it. I'll say, so now this particular input that I have provided, it will be stored in our variable, and the default value that we get from input function is a string, right? So here, if I'll go ahead and print the var or our variable, right, and run it, I will get the exact user input that user has provided us, right? So this is the basic logic of getting input from user. Now let's say if we are looking for an integer, right? So as we have discussed, the default output of this function is a string. So now we have to convert that string into integer. So for that, we will use one more thing, that is integer, right? And if we run, let's say we are providing here the integer value, right? Let's say this. So we will be getting an integer output. So that is so all these particular topics that we have discussed till now, these are the basics of Python that we have to understand to work around with it. However, today we haven't discussed anything, or we haven't made any program to check the implementation of these particular concepts of Python, right? So we will be certainly doing that, but those implementation of these concepts will be done in the later webinars that we are going to make. Okay, so I do hope that you guys have understood these particular topics that we have discussed today, and you guys will go ahead and practice all these things, and not only practice but also you guys will go ahead and research about these things, right? If you guys have any doubts, any queries related to it, what you can do is you can connect with us with at any particular social media platform, or you can join us in our Discord server, link to which has been given in the description below. So thank you very much for joining in, and you guys have a great day.